So I'm going to be showing you how I make my yeast rolls, and this is just a big bowl. I like to use, you can use a metal bowl, a ceramic bowl, doesn't really matter. I don't like to use plastic because plastic sometimes holds bacteria, and so when you're working with something like yeast, you want it to be as pure as possible. So this water, a lot of times when I test the water, I just run it over my wrist to make sure it's not too hot, not too cold. Just you want it kind of body temperature. And then I'm going to sprinkle in 2 packets of rapid rise yeast because Izaiah came home for the weekend and he loves these yeast rolls. So, however, I don't have a full 3 hours to make them like I usually do with regular rise yeast, so I use the rapid rise yeast and just 2 packets, so your 3rd packet you can put away, and then you just kind of let that yeast sit in there. I get my whisk and just whisk it so it kind of helps it dissolve. And then a lot of bread making is just really looking at it and seeing what it's doing. Like that yeast looks like it's going to be really active because it's already kind of frothy. You really want it to be nice and frothy. And just whisk it until you don't see any more yeast clumps or anything. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So then we're going to just kind of let it sit here. I just let it sit for 5 minutes to get the yeast going. You don't really want to add any salt or extra stuff before the yeast really gets its enzymes or whatever working. So it is going to start to get a little bit more bubbly is what you want to watch for, and then we're going to add a few more things and get it going for bread. And I always like to keep my yeast in the fridge because yeast grows in warm conditions, and if it's too warm, it can kind of go bad. In a sense, it can kind of expire earlier, but you do always want to check the expiration date. This yeast doesn't expire until 2020. So August of 2020, so it's, this is March of 2019 right now, so it's totally fine. So yeah, we'll just kind of let that set, and then we will be back to check on it. So we're back, and that is nice and bubbly now. I'm just gonna add some sugar, kind of eyeball it, whisk it in. And then I'm also going to add some flour and some salt. So, a little bit of salt. At this point you could add eggs or milk or other things, but I don't want to have the yeast go too slow. So I'm not going to add those things. Actually, I'm going to add just a little bit of oil because I do like it kind of, just a little bit of flake to the, especially the top of the yeast rolls. And you want to add anything liquid you want to put in before adding your flour. And then you just kind of dump in. So we're back, and that sponge wet dough has risen quite a bit. So we're just going to add some more flour, punch it down, knead it out, shape it into our dinner rolls, and put it in the pan. The nice thing about making bread is that you can do multiple things at once. So since that's been kind of sitting there getting its yeast going, I have started some ribs and made a pasta salad and some broccoli and rice, and have some cut up some potatoes and making some little french fries for Langston. So just kind of like knead it around in there, and then I just dump out that flour onto the workspace once you can kind of handle it, and then just get to kneading the dough. So yeah, I think those fries are about done, so I'm gonna have to just take 5 minutes. Those are some nice golden French fries. And yes, I still have flour on my hand, but that's okay because it's all food. And I want to get those salted and cooling down while I finish this row. Alright, so back at it. The dough is nice and warm because I kind of, put that warm towel over it, and this workstation is right over top of the dishwasher, and the dishwasher is on, and it's often, kind of like heats up the counter just slightly so that, it's kind of like a warm area for the dough to rise. You want it to kind of like have that, like you're slapping a butt or something. And then if you poke it, it should bounce back when it's ready. So that's pretty ready. I'm going to go ahead and grab a pan so that I can shape the rolls. And I actually usually just take like a butter knife and cut the similar sized pieces off. Just eyeball it. You don't want them to be like too huge, or they might not cook all the way through with this quicker process. You also don't want them to be like too small, or you have like more crust than roll. I like my yeast rolls to be nice and so. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 10 rolls. And I'm going to just grab a nice pan and scooch the flour over. Wash my hands again. So I like to use Crisco for greasing the pan. Just gonna take some out with your fingers. It's messy. You can do it with a paper towel if you really don't like getting your hands greasy, but I don't really mind. Alright, so that's nice and smooth. And then just take like one roll at a time, get it flour. And I just kind of do this to form it into a nice little roundish ball. I want to make sure that it has enough flour in it to really hold up the shape and the texture when it rises its last time. And really, this is just a very simple recipe because it's just literally, again, using water, yeast, sugar, flour, salt, a little bit of oil, and a little more, little Crisco. You can also butter the pan. If you butter the pan though, the bottoms are softer. They're not like, they don't create as good of a crust as if you use Crisco. So I like the Crisco for that. And I also brush the top of my yeast rolls with Crisco. You can do it right after they come out of the oven, or even like right before, once they're golden. But Crisco is magic. But again, if you don't like Crisco, if you're against Crisco, you can always use butter or even just vegetable oil if you don't have either of those. I'm all into improvising. I like to just use whatever I have, which is why I had like 4 potatoes. I didn't want to go to the grocery store since Izaiah came home this weekend. I wanted to just make dinner with whatever we had so that it was quicker. And so yeah, I made kind of a weird dinner because honestly, barbecue ribs and broccoli and rice and French fries don't really go together, and pasta salad, but I guarantee you that Langston will like the fries. Izaiah probably like the broccoli and rice and ribs. Franklin the same. It was probably gonna like the ribs and the rice. And Izaiah's gonna love the yeast rolls. That's his favorite thing, and this is why I'm making them. Here's from him. This is like his all-time favorite thing that I make. Like what he requests on Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. And the nice thing is too, there are always like some left over because Franklin is not a big fan of anything baked. He doesn't like breads, pies, cakes, cookies, whether I make them or store-bought or anything. He's just not into it. So I always send some of these home with Izaiah. So yeah, I just kind of like fit them in, however many it ends up being. As long as they're not too tight in the pan, those are gonna now rise really nicely. I'm gonna just like wash off this cover real quick, put a tea towel over top of them, and I'll come back when they are risen. So these are done now. I just got them out of the oven. And I'm going to put just a little bit of Crisco on top of them with the brush. It just makes them nice and shiny. And I like to do it after they come out of the oven because it keeps the crust really crisp. If you do it before, it kind of makes the crust a little softer. And I like my crust to be crisp and the inside of the roll to be soft. And so after I do that, golden, I am going to just flip them out of the pan onto a wire rack. You can see the bottoms are brown, and that's what you want, is you want a nice brown bottom underneath, or else they are not all the way done. And you can see, like, just by pulling them apart, how perfectly done they are on the inside. And those are my yeast rolls.